Hey everyone, welcome back to the Performance Marketing Minds podcast, brought to you by Outbrain Direct Response. I'm your host, Joe Addona, and today I'm joined by the native legend. I'm coining that term now, Nadim Kuttab, CEO and co-founder of Xevio. In this episode, we chat about the untapped power of native advertising, the role of AI in marketing, and how to really dial in your funnels. We touch on lead generation, overlooked geos and markets, plus a ton of innovative strategies in such a competitive landscape. And this will be my first pitch to all of you to like and subscribe. I'm not a marketer, I'm just a sales guy, but it goes a long way in helping everything grow. So please do that. We really appreciate it. Okay, enjoy my conversation with the native legend, Nadim Kuttab. Cool. Well, then let's start with a fun topic, which is why did you decide to make your life harder for yourself and only focus on native and not do what other agencies do and go social and make the easy money? Why do you like native so much, and how has that evolved over the years?
I think that's an interesting question. Mainly, we're a native agency because nobody else is doing it properly at the scale that we are, in my opinion. So when we first founded Xevio, right, I came from a native agency that I was the CEO and co-founder of, and moved a lot of my team into what is now Xevio. And it was just kind of evident that what we had started working on previously wasn't finished yet, right? Native ads have so much potential. The brands and agencies that are servicing the space aren't truly extracting the full potential out of it. There are exceptions, don't get me wrong, but as a whole, native ads are still relatively misunderstood and unexplored. How many brands could I list off the top of my head that are not successful on Outbrain, as an example, that should be, right? There's no reason for them not to be spending millions a quarter on your platform, and they're not. And so our mission really is to kind of unlock that spend potential. At some point, we'll hit our plateau and we'll branch out. But for the time being, native is we're a native first agency. However, we do spend 8 figures a year on Meta, so it's not like we don't touch other things. We have a social department. We do a lot of TikTok creatives for one of our key accounts here in Europe. I think 10,000 UGC videos last year. So not even like we do a lot of TikTok and Meta creatives, but it's not really the money maker. And because we're so good at what we do in the native ad space, it was just the natural step to continue doing that and scale it. And if we keep going the way that we're doing now, within the next 2 years, we'll crack the $250 million a year that I really want to get to, just out of pure vanity. So once we hit that, you should ask me again, like, what's the next step? And then I'll probably have a plan for, I don't know, running Reddit ads. I don't know. We'll discuss that in a year or two.
Yeah, no. I'm sure we will, based on the rate that you've been going. But it is interesting because I feel like a lot of different agencies that we work with, it's almost flipped the opposite way. You know, like social is their moneymaker, and then they try and test the waters in native, and they do some little things here and there, but they don't really understand what it takes to be successful. And from someone that's been in a native network for 10 years, that's the hardest part of maybe the sale or the onboarding, is to get people to understand this channel is huge and there's so many people here, but it's also, you have to tame the beast. Like there's so many variables, there's specific content, you can't use the same thing. So,
but Joe, a lot of people come into the space and they're like, Meta and Google are so much larger than a Teads or an Outbrain. This should be easy. And then they'll, test a $50 a day campaign with their creatives that they're running on other channels, and it'll fail miserably and they won't generate a single sale. And they'll blame the traffic quality and make up excuses for why it's not working. The difference between a good and a very good and a great funnel in terms of performance can be like factor 100. If you have a good funnel versus a great funnel, you can be like paying 5 times more for the good funnel than for the great funnel. Like the incremental difference of like small changes and small improvements to what you're running on native, it can make such a big difference, because again, it's like that 1 cent, 2 cent difference in CPM that gets you that better placement that lets you scale. It's not much, right? And most people underestimate that completely. They try it a few times, they fail, they don't understand it, and they give up and they blame the traffic source. And that's what we're here to change.
Yeah, and I have a lot of questions about this. So
All right.
let's get into the nitty gritty and the details, because on one
Hit me.
hand, there's the traffic and the placements and the variables with that, but on the funnel side, what are some of the main things that you see go overlooked that change? Is it something, because I'm not the marketer, I'm the sales guy, but is it something as simple as colors? Is it something as simple as text and images and where they appear on the page? But I guess, is every offer different, or is it you have kind of a baseline of what you guys go with most times?
Every single offer is different. There's no right now. There's no best practice where I can be like, this is the template for everything. Run this and make it work. Right. We're rebuilding everything from scratch every time that we want to iterate or create a new angle for an existing product or launch a new product from scratch. I can give you a really good example. So we have these several times a week. We have like larger meetings with different media buyers and to share ideas. One of our media buyers was like, guys, I changed the image, my hero image, on my landing page, and it almost doubled my conversion rate. That shouldn't happen, right? You know, something as small as changing the top image shouldn't double the amount of people that are buying a product. And here we are and I mean, not a small amount of data. We have two identical pages with different images at the top, and one was just converting 2 times better than the baseline. And that happens. Not a lot, but it happens where you're like, small changes have a huge difference. Most of the time, call to actions are super important. Gamifying call to actions has really changed. Like last year when we started doing that, and across the board, even for ecom, just really gamifying how people interact with the journey towards the checkout page has been massive. For one of our largest clients, Hike in the shoe space, we just added a quiz funnel essentially as an additional step between the content and their PDP. And it added another 20-25% conversion rate. We lost people in the quiz funnel, but those that clicked through were warmer, were better. We weren't asking any data, like they weren't inputting anything. There was nothing. It was just answer some questions, get a recommendation for a product, and the product was the shoe that we were selling. And that it helped us scale. And it's things like that where oftentimes, by the time everyone's doing it, it's too late. You kind of have to do it to even be able to compete. And what Xevio has kind of specialized in is really being the first to hit something new or test a new funnel or an idea, so we can scale that, maintain our market share, and then the others can fight over scraps while they copy us. Like, that's kind of our approach to native.
Yeah, no, I mean, rather be leading from the front for sure. But on Taboola or Outbrain, like, how much money do you have to spend before you kill that idea on the funnel? Because the biggest thing from our end and what we've seen over the years is, like we said, so many variables. Like, there's CNN, there's ESPN, there's thousands of different articles a day that your ad can appear. So how do you know it's not the day or the time of day or the article and it's actually the funnel? Like, what are some of those things you look at, and how much money do you think, or maybe it's not money, maybe it's just landing page visits before you actually kill an idea or say, yes, this is what I'm going with?
Let me try to explain how we approach this. We're wrong a lot, right? Both in terms of the ideas that we test, but also the decisions we make in testing. But our priority is being right about 80% of the time. So we don't try to buy enough data to be like, I'm 99.9% sure this is the best approach, or this approach is better than that approach. It's super expensive to do. I don't think 90% of our clients would be happy with us testing like that, because we'd be burning a lot of money on tests where we're pretty sure but not 100% confident that A is better than B. So we do cycle through things a lot. You do need a certain amount of data to make decisions. The challenge is oftentimes you don't have that data, right? Like, clients are like, okay, here's a $10,000 test. Please test mobile and desktop and 5 different funnels. And you're like, okay, cool. This is going to be tough. We're going to give it a shot. We have something called a pulse check. So if we'll spend $5,000 to $10,000 initially in a test for a new product or a brand where we don't have benchmarks from the traffic sources, right? So this isn't like, hey, we're running auto insurance, Joe, like, what's the average CPA range and spend rate? What do we need to hit, right? If it's a new product where we're not sure where we're going to land, we have a target and we'll just start spending. And depending on how close to that target we are, after several iterations of tests, we'll decide to continue or stop. So it happens quite a bit, and this is kind of the bane of our clients that are onboarded, that will tell a client, like, we don't think this is going to be an easy win. Our business model means that we lose money at the very beginning of any partnership, and we're not going to invest more of our money into testing on native. So we just don't think this is the lowest hanging fruit. Go try something else.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. I mean, a good example is also you coming to us sometimes and saying, "Hey, what do you think about this offer? Do you think it's going to work?" And we have to be honest and say, "You know what? We don't have the data, but go ahead. Maybe, like you said, spend the 5 to 10K, but my gut says no or my gut says yes." And we do that a lot. And it's hard, though. And I'm sure it's hard for you to pick what you do and do not work on, because it is that 80% gut rule. But even for us, too, like the most successful campaigns and the most successful ad buys that have happened over the years are these first mover advantage things. It's the people that are doing something when no one else is doing it and zigging when they're jagging. And, that's where the real money is to be made. But putting the risk out there and making it happen is a whole nother ballgame.
Exactly. And it's part of what makes us successful is the fact that we're able to crack these new verticals. We're able to go out there and, there was like a pet bed brand that we weren't sure would work. And we scaled them to 5 figures a day within the first month. And I was like, holy crap, like how the hell is this working? Like this is, at first look, this wouldn't seem like a product that is ideal for native, but then you look into it and you're like, wait a second, no, if you think about it, like you're reaching a certain demographic. A lot of the people that you're reaching that are older will have some sort of pets, especially when their kids leave the house. They'll get a dog or a cat or 10 cats. I don't know, like there's there's that maybe at the first look, the first glance that I had at a page, I was a bit like, oh, this could work, but it's not an easy win. And then it ends up being super easy and scaling very quickly. On the flip side, you have those products where like this should work and it just doesn't. And I think the key is you have a finite amount of time and money. You don't want to put it into one thing. You want to spread your eggs in as many baskets as you can without doing too much so that everything fails. So we do try to have like a healthy testing rhythm and just be very critical. There isn't, when we offboard or when we decide to cut a project, it isn't one person deciding that ever. It's always going to be 3, 4, 5 people in a discussion saying, hey, this is the data, this is what I've tried. Do you guys have any other ideas, or what do we do? Because media buyers and even the best media buyers need more pairs of eyes on a problem sometimes to solve it. And so we have these things called like brain trusts, where it's like, I think yesterday we had 15 people in the office and digitally joining, talking about one product on native. How can we make it better? How can we improve the scale? The CPA is 10% too high. How do we bring it down? Things like that. And the output of these sessions is always phenomenal, because if you bring that many people together with a lot of experience from different fields, make them focus on one problem, the likelihood of you cracking that problem is so much higher than if it's 1 or 2 people working to solve it.
Yeah, I agree. We do the same kind of thing. We call them brainstorm sessions, but we take different AMs and sellers from different regions and bucket them each week to talk about accounts. And same thing, CPA is too high for this client. How do we get it down?
What do we do?
What do we do? I'm bullish on pet offers. I always have, because as a dog owner myself, I'm like, I would spend so much money on my dog if the product is and it's kind of wild. I've thought about it a lot. If I were to create my own offer, it's like I would create something for this golden retrievers, because everyone that has a golden retriever loses their mind about their dog. So I'm bullish on pet offers. I'm also bullish on CTV, which I wanted to just bring up. And this podcast is going to come out probably at the end of Q4. So we're having some conversations now and some people are running, but by the time this comes out, it'll be kind of past the point for Medicare and common knowledge probably. But one of the things that I've been really surprised about is how well CTV works for DR calls, especially. So I'll frame it like this, and you tell me if you've seen it or heard people talk about it this way too. But the difference between CTV and what people are running on YouTube and Rumble is, on YouTube and Rumble, there's a click out, right? It's digital. You can click the ad and go to a landing page, and you can fill out the form and do all this kind of stuff. But on CTV, on Amazon and Roku or whatever kind of CTV platform you're running on, what we're seeing work with Medicare right now is targeting all local news sites and running a 1.5-minute ad, and it's AI built. It's built completely by AI. Like, it's a woman or man on the screen that's talking about Medicare and open enrollment and grocery cards and all this stuff, and there's a phone number flashes across the screen, just like you would see on daytime TV. But the people that are buying these ads are people that I've met at search arbitrage meetups in Las Vegas.
That's crazy.
And it's just, I don't know. Weird time to inject that in the conversation, but it's just something else that recently I'm like, man, are we snapping back towards kind of like this long form TV style accessibility and performance, which is really interesting.
I'd like to flip the script there. I don't think it's the format as much as it's the people running the ads. So being a successful affiliate is one of the hardest things in the world because everybody makes money before you make a dollar, right? For every sale that you're generating, there's 2, 3, 4, 5 parties that are profiting from the ad dollars that you're investing or the revenue that you're generating before that money gets to you or the benefit reaches you. So they have to be some of the smartest out-of-the-box marketing minds in the industry. And so when they move from something like arbitrage, which used to make people so much money and has become very difficult with AFD, kind of being wind down from Google and RSOC just being slower and more policy intense, a lot of those marketers that were making bank on search arbitrage have moved to other stuff. And so they're taking that energy and all that experience in how to sell to another format. I mean, I can give you an example. When we started Xevio, one of our key accounts here in Germany said, Nadim, I'm going to give you our native campaigns under the condition that you also run Meta and TikTok and win us the TikTok Performance Award in Germany in 2023. And I was like, damn it. Okay, I had to download TikTok. At that point, I was like, this is it.
I have it. I'm a holdout. I just watch it with my wife.
I tried, and I had to get TikTok. And as a team, then we were relatively small. This was the first months of our company existing. We started renting studios and calling in just local models and creators to film stuff. And we won the TikTok Performance Award 6 months before winning that award. We'd never spent $1 on TikTok. It's just the universal, how to sell something to somebody in a way that seems appealing and not too cringy, not too salesy, it's hard. And a lot of people, I mean, the experience, Joe, think about how many campaigns, how many ad dollars have you witnessed to get to the level of where you are today? Somebody probably has to spend $50 million or witness the spending of $50 million with like intimate data, and that's super difficult to get to that level. And so I think that it's really just a testament to the resilience and the expertise that is in the affiliate and performance marketing space that they're able to branch out. And I think some of the best CMOs out there, some of the best founders of brands are former performance marketers, former affiliates, because they really understand how to sell stuff to people.
Yeah. You're so right. And I saw somebody got hired from an affiliate network and they went to go work at Amazon. And it's just very interesting, the type of people that are getting called up maybe to the big leagues, you would say, even though maybe they were having more fun in the affiliate space. But yeah, I agree with you. The smartest people, and that's why I like working in this space and not sometimes the big brand space and holding company and agency stuff, is because we do have a really smart group of small network and really well-minded people.
Yeah.
What have you seen? Because you say, I haven't spent $1 on TikTok. Now we win this performance award, and you guys were in your own studio creating the ads and stuff like that. And I mentioned on the CTV front, and also what I'm seeing is a lot of these AI ads coming out.
Yep.
And there's this weird part of me that thinks this might be a little bit out there, but I think people actually like watching the AI created ads that know they're AI created because they're so inundated with influencers and like real people trying to virtue signal and all this different stuff on Instagram and TikTok that maybe when they see the AI ad, they're not as off put. And okay, so maybe that's right, or maybe they just don't notice it at all. And I think for the older population, they probably really can't tell the difference of is it AI or is it
above
real?
A certain age, you're probably not going to be able to tell the difference. You're like, oh wow, that's a sinking ship with a gazillion people jumping on. Like, I've seen these on Meta sometimes. I don't know, they do probably just warming up fan pages or whatnot with organic content that is just crazy over the top videos that are obviously AI generated to somebody who works in the space. But if you're not in the space and you look at the comments, there's a lot of people that don't realize. I do think when it comes to like TikTok and younger generations, they're aware this is AI. oftentimes, right? Especially the videos that you're talking about, they're often different. They look different, they feel different, the people have different expressions or are structured in a certain way, the transitions are different, and it's new. I do think that at some point, AI videos are going to be super easy to create. Everyone is going to be creating content with AI, and the trend will shift to maybe higher quality AI videos or back to UGC videos. I think that there's that it's going to be difficult. It's very hard to predict where we're heading right now. I do think AI is here to stay. We're not going anywhere. Like it's not gonna. There's no creative agency in the world, unless you're doing like really, really high ticket items, that's not going to use AI in some way, shape, or form in the production of their assets. We don't have, I think, a native image right now that isn't in some way, shape, or form touched by AI. Even if it's just an element, like create me I don't know, book that this person is holding, like bam, the AI takes your best performer, makes an iteration holding a book, and that type of stuff is just becoming so commonplace. We're not even going through our creative team for that anymore, Joe. It's just the media buyers themselves editing their photos and iterating their headlines. I think the next step is really then the actual content production, and we're not there yet. Landing pages produced by AI don't perform as well as landing pages produced with AI and people, but let's see. Maybe at some point that'll change, and then it's all about essentially the full funnel picture or post. I mean, it's already post-click right now. We're seeing a lot of emphasis on that here at Xevio, but really focusing on what happens after the lead is fired, or during the checkout process, optimizing. Okay, how can I squeeze a dollar out here? How can I add more value so people are willing to pay more? And it could also just be momentum, right? People just getting a market share in a certain niche quick enough so that they can push out others. I mean, this is kind of our priority. We don't take on 5 clients in one space. Our goal is to take one account or one project in a niche and then scale them to a point where it's very difficult for others to succeed there. Which is difficult in a vertical like Medicare where you have so many players. But in Germany, we do 85 to 90% of insurance spend in the verticals that we're active in with one partner.
Yeah. How do you keep track of all the creative assets and the tests that are going on? Because it seems like the amount that you guys spend and the amount that must be tested, it seems like an overwhelming task to try and filter out what's working. Or are you just saying, I don't even care, just let the algo see if it's working and it's just going to pick it up and go with steam? Or
it's a good question. Right now, we do not have like a centralized system or way of tracking like historical performance. We do it in the platform. We are building something that hopefully will again use AI to kind of sum trends up together that they're seeing across multiple accounts and produce content with data that they can pull in real time from Outbrain and Taboola and MediaGo. But right now it's really just because we have one senior buyer per project, and that senior buyer owns that project, and so it's a lot of that person's responsibility to cycle through things that might have worked in the past, to retest things. And again, we have these larger group sessions where the question is often like, hey, it's called upcycling. That's what we call it internally. Can we use something that worked like a year ago, edit it a bit, or try it again in some way, shape, or form? And actually on Meta, we've seen a lot of success with that. Like 3 months after you have a top performer, just put it in again, and it'll be a top performer again for a couple of weeks, and it takes no effort, right? It's super easy. But on native, because right now the trends are so random, right? Like you have images that you change the color of something. I remember, this is a great example. For a solar ad in Germany, we had like a lady speaking in a room in front of like a podium, and we added a microphone, and it was their top performer, and the lady without the microphone wasn't even remotely close to the best performer. And I'm like, how does this make any sense? But it's these little things, maybe something like, subconsciously when people see a mic, podium, and with a headline or the combination of the placement, it just triggers something. But that's super hard for me as a marketer to tell you what it is about that microphone that we added that drives a better CTR and a better conversion rate. I have no idea. Could also just be luck, right? We just hit the right impressions at the right time and it's working better. There's so many factors that at this point, kind of keeping track of them would be a science in and of itself.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. And I got this good analogy years ago when it comes to creative testing and also just offer testing in general. And it's one of the things that we say to pure affiliates that come in. it's like a game. Being an affiliate is like a game of darts, especially on native. If you have your one dart, chance you hit a bullseye, probably pretty slim. But if you have 10 darts and 10 offers and you're willing to kind of see what goes on, you're probably going to be able to find one. And there is a lot of randomness to it. And the hardest thing in native, I think, is it's so many news sites, right? And there are non-traditional inventory and apps and these different things, but you can't control the news.
No.
So as a marketer, when 50 to 60% of your ads are appearing on news sites, you're kind of beholden to what's going on that day. But as much as it's a negative, it can also be a positive. Like we're seeing in the news now, gold ripping to all-time highs, the market's uneasy. Gold offers have been around forever in the affiliate space.
But they're working better now than ever. Yeah,
exactly. So how do you got to tap into the wave and be a little bit quick with it, like you said. And I think almost like operating like a trader and a financial trader, the people that see the trend 6 months before the trend are the ones that make all the money in finance, and the same thing in media buying. If people saw that little gold metric start to rise, I'm sure that there were definitely. I mean,
there's very smart affiliates out there that are like, oh, wait a second, I'm in this group of investors, and I'm seeing a trend with gold, like you said, right? Or it can be something silly like, people aren't using Ozempic as much, and maybe they're going to go back to like other weight loss stuff. In Germany right now, non like injections, like actual just products that have been around forever are working really well because people are just they're afraid of the alternatives, or they don't trust them, or there's a lot of negative media around, like what are the side effects? We don't know. Well, like there's a lot of press coverage. But ironically, Joe, when there's a lot of coverage or there's stuff happening in the world, we tend to see more impressions overall on the network. But when that stuff isn't positive, so like there's a new war, right? Your performance will go down because the news is so interesting. Right? Why do people read native ads in the first place and click on them? It's because they don't know what to do. Right? They're done reading their article and they want to be recommended the next article. But if the organic pieces of content on that page are so damn interesting, they're never going to get to the ads. So you'd almost think, hey, more people on the page, that's really good for me. And we see that sometimes where it's just the opposite, and we're like, oh, what a bad day. People, so many impressions and nobody's clicking on our ads. Like, why? It's because the news is so interesting, and they're just interested, and people are consuming actual news content instead of our ads.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I mean, that's a big balance. It's even one time years ago, Simply Safe, they're running a home security offer. It was like a camera before all the cameras started to pop up. This is like 8 years ago, and there was a time when all of the LA break-ins were going on, and there was like 2 days of articles, and Simply Safe's ROAS was like 1,000% for 2 days, and they were like, "How do we get back to this?" And management is saying, "Why do they spend so much money these days? Like, how do we get them back to that?" It's like, guys, I don't know if we can control this one, but
that's out of our control.
Yeah,
it's almost like we do try to kind of go against the cycle with content. So some of our best months for solar ads are actually in the winter. Because demand is higher, because organic demand is lower. So a lot of the companies have just space for more projects, so they buy leads. In the summer, people are actively looking for, it's sunny outside, I should get a solar panel on my roof. They're actively looking for providers, and so the demand for leads isn't necessarily higher. And you can use the seasonalities of things to create stories, right? Native is all about storytelling. If in the winter, the best time to get an AC, the cheapest time to get an AC built into your house is January and February. Why? Because all the companies that are building, ACs into houses aren't doing it as often, and the demand isn't there in the winter. It's everybody in the summer when they're sweating. They're like, oh crap, I need a new AC. Let me get a new unit built in, and then the prices go up because demand is up, and they can charge more for them. So you can create these stories where you say, hey, this is how Americans can save $2,200 on and I don't know, HVAC. This is how. Check it out. And the recommendation is now's the best time because demand's low and prices are low.
Yeah, that's a good hot tip. How do you see lead gen in general going? Like, I feel like there's always these waves in different times of year and what people focus on and all this kind of stuff. But I've seen, I don't know, at least in 2025, things kind of snapping back to lead gen. I think it's what we talked about earlier. Folks in search arbitrage, that it's gotten harder, have gone back into other things. Even on the content arbitrage side, like all the performance publishers, they've gone into lead gen and e-com. So how do you see, obviously we're in Q4 now, and this will come out in Q4 when e-com is going to be crazy and product purchases and listicles and everything. But 2026, I guess, what are the tea leaves saying from inside Xevio?
Man, when 2025 started, I was betting big on e-com, right? And then tariffs came, and there was war, and there was uncertainty, and things just kind of didn't go as planned for anybody in the e-commerce space, right? It's been a bit of an interesting year. I'm not saying it's not possible to crush it on e-com, but it isn't as predictable. Lead gen is a lot more predictable, right? You can kind of, if the quality of your leads is good, you can charge a certain price, and you know that the demand is always going to be there because there's companies that need to take on contracts to live, right? They need the business. So it is easier. Also, the hurdle to get a lead is easier than to get somebody to whip out the credit card. Where we're having the most fun right now in the lead gen space is lead gen that isn't like the big verticals. We are running, obviously, we're running auto insurance and we're doing Medicare, but we're not the biggest players there on your platforms because there's other affiliates and brands that are just much more focused on only doing that, and we do a lot of stuff. But I can give you an example. We were in Germany. We closed a client for internet, like a fiber optic client. I didn't know how it would perform. We're running it in France and Italy, and it's working there, but it's not crazy scalable. Margins are slim because they're weaker markets. In Germany, because the internet is amongst the most expensive in the world, we're paying so much money per megabyte of internet in this country, and generally the speeds aren't very good. It's a bit of a joke that you're like in this first world country, but internet's like third world. It's terrible. So we could create these really cool narratives, and we ended up having one of the craziest profitable lead gen campaigns I've had in years with a vertical nobody really had on their radar. And it's those things where you're like, okay, where is there demand? I think at some point, auto, like test drives or car dealers, are going to become a thing, massive thing on native. It's just going to probably take some time. Their other demand channels are going to have to weaken, or things have to change. But there's such a good case for test drives or in general for auto brands to crush it on native at scale consistently, and they're not using it right now because nobody has really figured out exactly how to do it. But it's just one guy or a team to spend a couple of months or a year kind of cracking that vertical, and suddenly everyone will do it. And I think this is, if you're that team, if you can invest into something and you see an opportunity that you believe in that isn't like mainstream, the volume and the profit that you can make on those verticals is wild.
Yeah. Auto has always been one of those things that's confused me that people haven't dedicated more time to it. I'm not talking about auto insurance because we know that's big, but back in maybe 7 years ago when I was living out in California and I was going up to LA and going up to San Francisco even and Seattle, and you would start to meet with these big agencies and auto brands like Hyundai and Volkswagen and all these different people, and they really wanted to do branding video, and at the time we had some products, but it wasn't really working, and you could buy it programmatically and all this stuff, but there were no performance teams doing it, or at least the big holding codes weren't working on performance, and that was the most frustrating thing, to where the stuff that we could provide and offer that I know would work wasn't what they were working on, and I don't even know how big that team even is. But recently in the US, there's a small indie agency that is just driving to auto dealership landing pages and tracking the actions and the test drive books and things like that. It goes up and down. It's inconsistent depending on the seasonality and the deals, President's Day, Labor Day, all this kind of stuff. But it's kind of cool. It's like one of the first people I've seen actually doing it, but it might not be the way that I would envision it happen, but someone's at least trying it. Like they're throwing their feet in the water.
And maybe that's not even the best way to do it, but at some point I'm convinced that somebody, whether it's us or somebody in the US, is going to crack this whole car retail market on native, and it's going to be huge. I mean, I remember in arbitrage, one of the best verticals in the US was always like SUVs or trucks, right?
Yeah.
Americans love SUVs and trucks, and so there's no reason that this isn't, native. You reach everybody, you reach every American, effectively every adult American. There should be no reason that you don't sell them a truck on native. It's just nobody's found that format. So if you're able to invest and crack that, you'll make a lot of money for sure.
Yeah, please come to me in the DM and we'll take 10% on the idea. So
exactly, there's a royalty on this now.
Yeah, I know. I remember when I first saw arbitrage, I was like, "What the hell is a what is this dental implant ad doing all over the CNN?"
You're too young for that, right? Give it another 30 years.
I know. My mom told me the other day. She was like, "You have cavities. You've always had cavities. You should probably start putting money away for teeth replacement." I was like, "Don't worry. I have a connection with the ads. I'm sure I can
exactly.
get a deal."
They say it's for free, right?
Yeah. The government will pay.
Exactly. No, but I think there's a lot of opportunities. They're just not where everybody's at, right? Native has always thrived by having a diversity of offers. If everybody's running the same thing, nobody's making any money, and only the biggest, most profitable brands and advertisers will be able to maintain themselves. If you're an affiliate, if you're a marketer and you're looking where to start, probably don't start where everybody's currently at, right? And if you start where everybody's currently at, especially with seasonal things like listicles, start early. Just be one of the first out the door. There are stories in the listicle space. It's one of those things that we've never cracked, Joe. Like we've never invested enough time to properly crack listicles because most of our business is like directly with one brand, and it's very difficult to kind of bundle them together. But I've looked at some of these numbers, and it's crazy how 1, 2, 3-man teams will drive, I don't know, $8 million a month in revenue. And I'm like, oh, wow, they really only have to do this for like 2 months a year. And they can spend 10 months a year preparing for those 2 months a year and be very financially well off. It's those things that are just completely overlooked. There's not 50 people doing it, right? There'll be a couple of teams that are really doing this correctly, but it's not impossible to enter that as an affiliate. You just have to kind of do it at the right time.
I agree. There's probably less than 10 people that matter in the listicle world.
Yeah.
Which is wild across all networks.
But the volume that these 10 guys do is crazy, right? Like they'll be pushing at peak a couple of million a week. Like it's just a wild amount of spend.
Yeah. But starting early and getting your foot in the door with things that people aren't really doing right away.
For sure.
That's important. We've been jamming for over a half hour, so I don't know if there's anything else you want to add or leave, but I feel like this was really great. I feel like there was a lot of actual actionable tips and takeaways and stuff from the both of us, but you more than me. But is there anything else you want to touch on here?
Quickly, let's add one more thing. I think people come into Native expecting quick wins. Those days are over, right? It's very difficult to come in, spend $1, and be profitable. It happens, but it's happening less and less. And we have close to 100 different products testing or live at any given point in time. We have feelers everywhere. It's not easy right now. However, if you do it right, and especially for brand owners, right? If you do it right, the amount of money you can make directly or indirectly through the clicks you're buying on platforms like Outbrain and Taboola is wild. We have e-commerce cases where we're talking 9 figures of revenue for very small companies directly attributed to this channel. It's possible. It's not rocket science. You just have to be systematic and do it step by step and do it correctly, right? There are plenty of people out there. I mean, one of the biggest benefits of running native ads is the fact that you can talk to a human, right? You have an account manager, you have a sales rep that you can get on a call with and be like, hey, Joe, what do I do, right? I have all these ideas, and like guide me on where to start. And every single person at these platforms that you're talking to will help you make those decisions. And it's just one of the biggest benefits to native is that you're not alone. You have support, you can ask questions and get responses and answers. If you're struggling and if things are so unprofitable that you've spent a couple of grand and you're just so far away from your target, either there's something fundamentally wrong somewhere in your funnel, whether it's the ad, the content piece, or the offer page. Get benchmarks from your AMs to understand where you're going wrong. And if you can't identify it, stop and do something else. Test something else, try another channel, try another product, because I see this so often, and it breaks my heart that people come in and they're like, I gave the algo 10 grand to optimize and it didn't do its job. It didn't do its job, right? The algorithms are getting better, but they are not going to be able to like find you the pockets of converting people the same way that a Facebook can. That's the truth, because Outbrain does not have this level of data. Taboola doesn't have. No one has that level of data in the native ad space like Meta. right? So Meta can because they own the whole supply chain, they can really kind of find you those pockets, like those 50 people in New York that would buy your bag. They can help you find those. In native, if you're really targeting 50 people in New York, you're going to have a really hard time filtering out everybody else, and you need a different approach.
Yeah, I'm hesitant to say this, but I will say it because it's just an interesting story. During some of the political elections throughout the years,
Yeah.
we have people targeting specific zip codes on the Hill that they know politicians sit in, so that they try and hit them when they're on their phone in recess or during these meetings and stuff. And some of these political organizations would be paying $25 cost per click just to be able to get in touch with them and doing very specific things. So it's it is a lot different. But I think someone like you and this whole mindset of the spend 10,000 hours doing something and you're an expert, right? I tried to do the math on my phone when you were talking. And I was like, I can't even do the math of the amount of hours he spent. But it's a difference of someone like that's committed to it, or someone that's worked here for 10 years and trying to understand it, and then the fly by night, okay, I'm going to try and spend $10,000 and I worked on this for like 2 or 3 hours and it doesn't work and screw your platform and blah, blah, blah. And I wish it worked easier. I wish I could, if it did work easier, I wouldn't have a job, and I would also quit my job and spend all my money buying on Outbrain and Taboola and make it work. But it's difficult, you know?
It is difficult. I did the math for you, by the way. I'm like somewhere between 20 and 25,000 hours in the native. It's been a lot. It's been too much. Yeah. And honestly, I probably have a problem. Like I should do something else, but it's just, it's always keeping me fresh. It's exciting. It's I don't know. But you are competing with people like me, right? It's not super easy. And if you're going to come in without really the motivation to learn and grow, you're going to get destroyed by people that do take the time to learn and grow. Into
if
a platform.
You better come correct, or
exactly.
else you're going to be head to head with this guy.
We're not that big in the U.S., right? We're big, but we're not like in Europe. It's just you're going to be fighting a Xevio ad at some point. If you're running in Europe. In the U.S., you might have a couple of ads in between.
All right. So the takeaway is maybe come into the U.S. and don't buy in Europe so much, or else you're going to go up against somebody that really knows what they're doing. But
I mean, there's opportunities there. I always say like, Poland is such an overlooked market because it's such a strong economy. It's one of the fastest growing economies in Europe, and nobody advertises there. But I have yet to fail with a project in Poland. It's the only country that I can confidently say we've never failed in. It's really crazy.
I know, these things blow my mind. Even Lithuania, all that things coming out of there. Like I talked to Renan Rosenbaum last week, and just the Shopify and Facebook ecosystem and product offer owners coming out of Lithuania. It's bananas. So
especially for Americans, like there's so many non-American countries and teams that are really doing amazing work on native. It's kind of crazy that I would almost go out on a limb and say outside of the big common verticals that a lot of affiliates are in, Europeans are almost better at native than Americans for like new, fresh e-com lead gen ideas and products, which is crazy. You guys need to get your stuff together. Like there's no reason like a Lithuanian team or a German team or a Dutch team can outperform an American team in the US. And again, not everywhere, but it is something that I've seen. There's so much potential left in the US, and we've been here developing Europe and growing the German, the French, the British markets. In the US, there's so much potential left for like proper, clean brands to come in with very solid products and proper attribution and tracking and just crush the market.
I agree, dude. That's my goal in 2026.
Nice.
Proper, clean, white hat, good brands that want to drive performance. And there's room for it. So
there is.
Let's do it. Thank you, man. Thank you for spending this time with me and sharing your knowledge and information. Love it.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, Joe.
All right, buddy.
Have a good one.
Yep. See ya.
Ciao.